Once upon a time, there was a goldsmith and his wife who lived happily together in a beautiful country. They were known for their strong love and harmony, and their house was always illuminated throughout the night. One night, the king and queen observed the goldsmith's house from their window and noticed the glowing light in the distance. They wondered whether it was the husband or the wife who was responsible for their perfect relationship. To find out the truth, they decided to conduct an experiment. The queen, driven by curiosity, devised a cunning plan. She chose one of her loyal handmaids to approach the goldsmith under false pretenses. Disguised as a woman smitten with the goldsmith, she proposed a sinister bargain. If he were to dispose of his beloved wife, she would gladly marry him instead. But the goldsmith, a paragon of loyalty and devotion, vehemently declined the offer. He proclaimed that he cherished his wife above all else, declaring his unwavering commitment to the sacred bond they shared. He believed that destiny had blessed him with a remarkable partner, and he would never forsake her for any worldly gain, not even for 1,000 queens. The next day, the king sent a servant to the goldsmith's wife, expressing admiration for her beauty and offering to make her the queen if she would kill her husband. Shocked by the proposition, the wife questioned the servant to confirm if it was truly the king's request. Once she received confirmation, she made the tragic decision to murder her husband that very night. She instructed the servant that when their house light went out, it would be a signal that she had begun her dreadful deed. The servant informed the king, who ordered his men to be prepared to save the goldsmith if the light was indeed extinguished. In the evening, after supper, the goldsmith returned home and engaged in a pleasant conversation with his wife as usual. Eventually, the husband rested his head on his wife's lap and fell asleep. Seizing the opportunity, the wife placed a loop of rope around his neck, blew out the candle, and started pulling the rope. Unfortunately, the goldsmith was strangled before the king's men could intervene. The king was devastated by the murder of one of his most loyal subjects and developed a deep resentment towards all women. Unable to sleep that night, he summoned his prime minister the next morning and commanded the execution of all the women in the country, regardless of their age, before his return in the evening. The prime minister, who had an elderly father, went to him and informed him of the king's terrible order. The old man advised his son not to obey the king's command and instead take responsibility for the consequences. He urged his son to hide for a few days to avoid the king's wrath. In the evening, upon the king's return from hunting, he discovered that the women in the kingdom were still alive. Filled with rage, he demanded to know the whereabouts of the prime minister's son, intending to execute him before the women. With a trembling voice, the old man approached the king, standing on his crutches, and declared, "Long live the king." He requested permission to share his own experience before carrying out the king's command. The king agreed, while his soldiers prepared to carry out the execution of the women as ordered. The old man began his tale, recounting the time when he served as the prime minister during the reign of the king's father. He shared an incident from his past when he was led astray while hunting and encountered an unknown horseman who forcefully captured him. The horseman bound the old man and took him to a cemetery where they dug 2 graves. Then they proceeded to a castle wall where the horseman climbed up, dropped down a headless corpse, and brought the old man and the corpse to the graves they had prepared. The old man was terrified, believing that one grave was meant for the corpse and the other for himself. To his surprise, the horseman untied him and revealed herself as a woman. She explained that she had an immeasurable love for her husband, but was pursued by a vile prince, whose corpse they had just buried. The prince had killed her husband in an attempt to win her love, and in return, she vowed to kill the murderer and bury him beneath her husband's feet. After fulfilling her vow, she intended to end her own life and be buried beside her husband. The woman requested the old man to bury her in the grave next to her husband and share her story with the king. She then took a dagger and stabbed herself, falling dead at the old man's feet. The old man fulfilled her wish by burying her alongside her husband. Having concluded his tale, the old man emphasized that this woman was an example of a faithful and courageous wife. He pleaded with the king to spare the lives of all the women in the realm, as many good women should not suffer due to the wickedness of one woman. Touched by the narrative, the king rescinded his decree, sparing everyone except the goldsmith's wife from execution. The king came to understand the wisdom of his prime minister's father, who had advised against condemning an entire group based on the actions of one deceitful individual. Each person has their unique story, and the king acknowledged the importance of giving everyone a chance to demonstrate their integrity and compassion. Realizing the peril of succumbing to anger and hatred, the king consciously embraced a forgiving mindset, opting for a more compassionate outlook. And so, the tale of the goldsmith and the king's decree teaches us the significance of fairness, compassion, and the importance of not allowing the actions of a few to tarnish our perception of an entire group. And that concludes our captivating story for today. What a tale it was, filled with love, betrayal, and ultimately, redemption. As we reflect on the events that unfolded, there are valuable lessons to be learned. The story of the goldsmith and the king's decree reminds us of the dangers of letting the actions of a few individuals cloud our judgment about an entire group. It teaches us the importance of fairness and compassion, and the need to give everyone a chance to prove their worth. Just like the Prime Minister's wise father advised, we should not let one betraying person make us hate and condemn all others. Each person has their own unique story, and it's crucial to approach them with an open heart and mind. We live in a world where it's easy to judge and generalize based on the actions of a few. But this story serves as a powerful reminder that we must resist that temptation. It's essential to remember that there are countless individuals who deserve our trust and understanding. Let us strive to be fair in our judgments and compassionate in our interactions. By doing so, we can create a world where people are given the opportunity to showcase their true character, just as the goldsmith did. Thank you for joining me on this heartfelt journey today. May this tale have touched your hearts and ignited a flame of fairness and empathy within you. Let us always remember that every individual carries a unique story, deserving of our attentive ears and open hearts. It is our responsibility to provide them with the opportunity to shine. As we part ways for now, let us wholeheartedly embrace the transformative power of compassion and allow it to shape our every action. Until we meet again, farewell, and may you be well.